year 3. This is lesson 2. I didn't have the chance to teach lesson 1, but I imagine that you had a good class and good discussion. So, hola to everyone. So let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Pablo Riboldi. I'll be your science teacher for this year. And I'm originally from Argentina, so that's why I have an accent, okay? I've been living here in the United States for 26 years, but I cannot get rid of the accent. So you'll have to bear with me on that and apologize for it. And I hope that if I pronounce something really bad, okay, just remember that I'm pronouncing it kind of like in Spanish, how it would be pronounced in Spanish. The good thing is that a lot of scientific names come from Latin, okay, and so I probably have a closer Latin pronunciation than what the English pronunciation of this name is, but that is part of the problem, okay. So thank you for for the encouragement. All right. Okay, so let me, there is a question here. Justin talks about the assignments and how are we going to do the assignments for this lesson. So I'm going to go here to today's lesson. This is going to be lesson 2 on the family school, high school, science 3, okay? And you see, the idea is that you will need to read the lesson materials before class, okay? So what I would like you to do is to read the whole lesson before class, and as you study the lesson, as you read the lesson, if you have questions, please write them down, okay? Write your questions down, and then the first thing that we are going to do in class is to answer your questions, okay? So Kaya asked, what is the lesson isn't on the side? So if I understand correctly, here in science year 3, I have the first 4 lessons already are published, okay? If that is not the case, let me know, all right? So, but I'm going to try to stay ahead at least 1 lesson, okay? So, so I want you to read to read the lesson before. Hi, Emmeline. And everyone, and Jen says, I love learning about cells. I am loving this also, really. This is a fabulous topic, and I'm going to have so much fun this year with you guys. Okay, so so the idea is for you to read the lesson beforehand and write the questions that you have, any questions that you have beforehand, okay? And so the first thing is that we are going to answer your questions here in class. The assignments are in this other tab that says lesson supplements, okay? And in the lesson supplements, we are going to have 2 sections, okay? Here in this lesson, I have just the leader high school section, but in most of the lessons, there's going to be a middle school and a high school section. So one for Scholar on the middle school and one for leader for the high school level. And under each one of those, you are going to have 2 or 3 different assignments that you can complete, okay? You only are required to complete 1 assignment per lesson, okay? So 1 assignment per lesson. So, for example, if you choose to do this assignment of using the microscope, all right, then you copy the assignment, okay? You copy the assignment into your paper. Usually we are going to ask you to prepare a paper or a presentation or something, but when you submit the assignment, you need to tell the grader which is the assignment that you are submitting, because, you know, we will have probably like 5, 6 different options of different assignments per lesson, okay? And so imagine if you just submit the assignment but don't tell us which one it is, then the grader is going to have a much harder time trying to figure that out, okay? So that is how you will give the assignment, all right? So the way to submit the assignment is actually going here to Canvas, okay? And you will go to the course, all right? And then you see the lesson, and for example, you go here to lesson 2, and under lesson 2, then you are going to be able to submit your assignment for grading. Okay, this is the screen for the teacher, so it's slightly different from what you see as a student. Okay, but here is you submit your assignments in Canvas. We do the grading there in Canvas. The quizzes are also in Canvas. Okay, Jens asked, what do we do if we don't have a microscope? Okay, excellent question, all right? And this is very important. Let me put this question to rest, okay? One of the reasons why we are giving you different options of the assignment is because if you do not have a microscope and you cannot have access to a microscope, then choose one of the other assignments, okay? So no big deal. I was able to buy in Amazon a digital microscope for about a little less than $50. Okay, so if you have one of the you know, can do a chore for your parents, you know, clean some cars, mow some lawns, and everything, you could probably earn the money for buying a microscope. Okay, I do not want you to ask your parents for the money. All right, I want you to earn the money. That is going to help you appreciate a microscope that much more. Now, again, if you don't have access to a microscope, you can choose one of the other assignments or activities. One of the questions is, do we have to do the activity too? No, just do one. If you choose to do an activity, then for your submission, okay, you submit a report on your activity, okay? So submit and tell us what happened. But try to remember to make the writing effort kind of worthwhile, all right? So yes, you can choose to do the activity instead of the assignment. So we don't make much of a distinction between assignment activities, this, what, all right? What I want you to do is that for each lesson, you do one of these, okay? All right? So Connor, you said, I don't know what to do for the assignment because it doesn't tell me, okay? If you can write to me, what do you mean by it doesn't tell me, okay? So you go to the lesson, you go here to the lesson supplement tab, and I want you to see if you can find that there, okay? Connor, if you have a microphone, I can unmute you, and then you can ask the question verbally, all right? So any of you, okay, here we have Griffith with a raised hand, so I'm going to, let's see, okay, come on, there we go. So panelists, okay. All right, Megan asked, why do we have a different teacher than last week? is because the Argentine is cheaper than the American. No, that's not the reason. Mr. Anderson, the school principal, asked me to teach the science class. I taught the science class last year, okay? And so they asked me today to do it again, okay? Griffin, do you have a question for us? Okay, no, I think that then Griffin doesn't have a question. So if you want to be recognized, okay, raise your hand, okay, and then I can do that. The quizzes don't work, okay. Nathan says I have a mic. Excellent, good to know. The quizzes don't work. The quiz instructions and nothing is there. I put the quizzes today, so let me try to see how that goes. Let's see if I can see things as a student. Okay, let me change to student view. Okay. In this class, I guess we are trying to work out all the kinks, okay, of things going on. So if I click there on quiz number 1, all right, and press take quiz, let's see what it says, and I have the question there. Is that different for you guys? Is that very different? Okay. All right. Okay, so yes, Caleb, you can do one or the other. Okay. Okay. One question Spencer asked, what if you have a microscope that only goes to 40 zoom? Okay, well, you know, that is a very good question, okay. And are you going to give us mic privileges? Yeah, so Nathan, let me promote you to be a panelist. So if you want to talk, you can, okay. I don't think that I can make everyone a panelist at the same time, but anyone that wants to, okay, you can raise your hand and I'll make you a panelist. Haley, now I'm going to also, okay, okay, let's see. Okay, oh wow, we have a lot of hands here. Okay, so what is this? Let's see, why is not, okay, make a panelist. There we go. So it takes a while to get all these. Okay. All right. Let's see. Haley, do you have a question? When are the assignments due? Caleb asked. There is a due date there for the assignments. It doesn't do that for any of my questions. Okay. Okay. Under 0 and I did not. Okay. So I'm going to make these quizzes so you can retake them. Okay. I can't even see my quiz and it says the same thing. Ha! Sam, you caught up on the asterisks. Yes, that's right. Holy cow. See, this is what happens when you copy and paste things really fast. Okay. Okay, let me see. Connor. Okay. Connor, I made you a panelist, so you can talk if you want to. All right. So lesson 2 is due today. If it says that lesson 2 is due today, just disregard, okay? Just let's make it so the assignment for the lesson is always due by the end of the week of that lesson, Okay, so I'm going to make sure, okay, that is how it goes. Okay. So Haley, let me see. Connected to audio. I don't know why it's not. I click on Haley's name, and it doesn't let me change her to be a panelist. Okay. So, bummer. Yeah. Sorry about that. So the quiz is still empty. Just keep running the time with no content. Okay, for one, I was able to take my history quiz. Oh, no problem. Okay. Done. Okay. All right. Is the panelist place filled up? No, it's not. Okay. So now I have Jens also being a panelist. Okay. So if you, I think that there's room for 25 panelists. Okay. All right. And I'm trying to go as fast as I can. It's not easy because of. So what we are going to do in the future, all right, is if you want to participate, being a panelist, you are going to log in 10, 15 minutes before the class, and so we can do all these panelist things beforehand. Okay. Okay. So Aubrey Brecken says that still the quizzes are okay, you know, so probably it's because Aubrey, you said that you have been taking it for 1 day, 4 hours and 30 minutes. So it probably is because you started taking the quiz before it was published. Okay. So that is probably the problem here with the quiz. Josh, you are also a panelist. So I'm going to see, try to finish the quiz, okay? And then I'm going to open it so you can take it again, okay? So I'm going to change the question here, okay? This is going to show you kind of the inner workings of Canvas. All right. So let's see, we're going to edit this so we don't have the asterisk there. Okay, good. Now it's safe. But now you see, you know, which one is the right answer and everything. That's okay. Okay, we are all friends. We have to work these kinks, you know, once in a while. All right. Okay. So, all right. Okay, Liberty, did you have a hand raise? And Josh, okay, and Dan, that's it. All right, so now we have, okay, try now, Josh, to see if you can open your mic. All right, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Thanks.
I can hear you now. Okay. All right. Anybody have a question or something that you want to ask online? So I have a question for you. Have you been able to read lesson 2 beforehand today? Okay, so we have some yes, no. What are we doing? We are trying to start the lesson number 2. Okay. All right. So I want you to come prepared to the class, okay, having read the lesson, because I am going to be asking you questions, okay? And so if I ask you a question, then what I will expect is you raise your hand if you want to be recognized, okay, and then unmute your mic, and then you can answer the question, okay? So, all right, good deal. No problem. So this is important, okay? To see how things are working. We're kind of working out all the kinks out of things. Olson says the pictures won't show up. Okay, so I don't know exactly which pictures you are talking about, Olson. The pictures, are those the pictures inside the lesson? All right, so I'm going back to the lesson plan. Okay. So today we are going to learn, in the first lesson, we learned about some of the people that actually started cell theory, okay? And so I have a question for you. Okay, what is cell theory? Who can explain to me what cell theory is? Haley? Okay. It's weird because, Haley, I can't make you a panelist for some reason. That is absolutely frustrating. Okay. I cannot unmute you. In here in GoToWebinar, I have to make you a panelist first, okay, and then I can unmute you, okay. Okay, let's see, Maria. And I have the same problem here with Maria. It may be that now we have kind of the number of panelists at the top, okay. Andrew says the process of how others found cells, okay. What else do you think is cell theory? What is cell theory? Okay. What is cell theory? Okay. The theory of the properties of cells. Good. Okay. All right. So I'll need to ask. Hey, Haley, send me an email about this. Okay. So I can remember and tell me. So I can remember to contact Ms. Stoddard on that. Taylor says the theory that all living things are made up of cells. That is absolutely correct. Excellent. Good. Okay. The theory of the properties of cells. Good. Good answers there. So we have that cell theory is made out of three main principles. What are the three principles of cell theory? I displayed them there briefly. Okay. Had to be very quick with me, okay? Now you have them there, all right? What are the principles of cell theory? Raise your hand or you can answer through the question area, okay? I cannot check both the question and the chat at the same time, okay? Okay, all cells are the basic unit of life. So we'll need to decide on which ones to use. So I think that I prefer if we use the question section, okay, instead of the chat. So all living things, okay, I would add there, Caleb, living things have at least one cell, and cells are the basic unit of life. Good, excellent, okay. An organism is made of one or more cells. living things, so it's a theory of living things, or living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Great. And then, Haley, you said this is a very important principle. The third principle is that all cells come from pre-existing cells. This was actually very important and quite a change. Caroline says the same thing, stating the same principle. And that is actually a very, very important part of cell theory, because before, people thought that living organisms happen spontaneously, okay? So, for example, they would observe that if you leave a piece of bread in a container, in a jar, in a few days there would be fruit flies, okay? Or if you leave a piece of fruit, you know, in a container, there would be fruit flies. The bread would grow mold, okay, and it would decay. And so people would think, how did the fruit flies get there? They just appear spontaneously, all right? And so it wasn't really until the 1800s when one of the scientists that we saw in lesson 1, okay, Virchow, that actually was able to prove that the fruit flies, the eggs of the fruit flies were there, okay? And so it wasn't that they spontaneously occur, they was actually that they were in a proper environment for them to come up and reproduce, okay? So these are the main three principles of cell theory, all right? Who could give me a summary, all right? Someone that would like to come up on the microphone and give me a summary of what you learned in lesson 1 last week. Raise your hand and or unmute yourself. You are already a panelist. And give me a summary of what you learned in lesson 1 last week.
I guess I'll answer. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So what we kind of talked about last week was how there was lots of scientists that discovered and added parts to the cell theory. So they kind of all worked together to make up what is now the cell theory.
Excellent. Did that happen all at once, or did it take a long time?
It took a long time, like lots and lots of years.
Yes, So, you know, when you say that they work together, what do you mean by they work together?
Well, they kind of added upon the knowledge that they had. Like one person, he discovered about bacteria and stuff, and then another scientist, he came and added upon that knowledge.
Excellent. That is actually very, very good. Okay. And so scientific knowledge really grows line upon line, precept upon precept. That is one of the gospel principles, okay? And that is also how scientific knowledge occurs. And it actually, scientific knowledge and all forms of knowledge is accelerated when we cooperate, okay, when we work together. In this sense, what we have is that some scientists would observe something, like Robert Hooke. I don't know if you remember seeing in his book how he discovered things, and then he wrote about it. And other scientists after that were able to read his material and then build on that, like Leeuwenhoek, okay? There was, here in the history of cell theory, there was an interesting thing that happened, that two of the scientists, one was specializing in plants, and the other was specializing in animals, in physiology of animals. And one time they actually happened to be having dinner together. And they started talking, and they made really the kind of the discovery of these first two principles of cell theory. Okay, because before that, some scientists would say, well, plants are composed of cells. But the scientists that were studying animals were not so sure. Okay. Yes, Schleiden and Schwann, all right? And so there you have a case where these two scientists actually literally collaborated together in order to come up with these principles of cell theory. Very, very important lesson there to learn on how scientific knowledge can grow, okay? All right, so in this lesson, we are going to study that there are two different types of cells, okay? And we have names for those cells. They are eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells. Eukaryotes or prokaryotes? Who can tell me what are the why are they named that way? What is the meaning of those names? What's the meaning, for example, of eukaryote? Then you can unmute yourself or raise your hand. Mm-hmm.
Can I answer?
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the eukaryote cell is a cell that contains a nucleus and other organelles, is that how you say it, enclosed with membranes. And the word eukaryote comes from the Greek prefix like eu, and which means well, good, and not sure how to say that. Another Greek word which means nut or kernel, meaning well-defined nucleus.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. So let me. I have to tell you, one of the things that I like is also to study Greek. Okay, in my spare time, which I haven't had very much. So, but here we have eukaryote in the lesson. You see there the prefix eu. Okay, in Greek it's actually pronounced f. Okay. So F or M, all right, would be well or good. Karyon would be kernel or nut, okay? And actually the differentiation between the two was that some Leeuwenhoek, actually, who made better microscopes, he was able to see that some cells have a nucleus that have a kernel, okay, or something inside that was well defined. And other cells didn't have that nucleus, okay? And so he made he distinguished them by that. And here F or F in eukaryote, okay, what other word is there? So the word for gospel, okay, I'm going to type this in the chat. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the word for gospel in Spanish is evangelio, okay, all right. Gospel means good news. Good news. What are the good news of the gospel? Okay. In Greek, the word is evangelion. Evangelion. Okay. Ev, again, is good or well. Okay. And angelio means message. That is where the word angel comes from, messenger. Okay. So the gospel, the good news, is a good message of God. All right. So there you see how that prefix ev, okay, or f, that in English we pronounce you, all right, would translate to good or well. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. All right. So Caleb says the good news is that Christ performed the atonement and the plan of salvation. Absolutely, yes. That is the good news. Okay. So there we have how the word eukaryote or eukaryote means well-defined kernel or not. And prokaryote, okay, so pro is the preposition to indicate something that is before, okay? So before or anterior or without in this case, that this meaning before time, so before the nut, the kernel was developed, these cells were there, all right? So that is kind of how it happened, okay? Does that make sense? I hope it does. All right, good. So let me keep track of things here. Good deal. All right, so we have the eukaryotes that have a well-defined kernel and the prokaryotes. Oh, there was someone else also asked the question, what can we do for the assignment if we don't have a microscope? Okay, well, one thing that you can do if you choose to do the assignment that requires a microscope is actually you can go to Google and you can type, for example, prokaryotic cells, microscope, images, and voila, there you have lots of images that are going to be helpful, you know, in giving you an idea of what you can see, okay? You can also see eukaryotic cells, all right? And so here we have the different cases there, all right? Just make it believable and look at facts on Google. So, you know, it is interesting because sometimes Google doesn't get it right. So, for example, here when I type this, all right, if I scroll further back, I see here this image of the fly, all right, and it's actually, you know, fabulous image, but certainly this is not a eukaryotic or a prokaryotic cell, okay? So why is it here? I don't know, but it is really a cool image, really, okay? But we can see a lot of images there of the things that we are studying. And so in this case, we see a eukaryotic cell, all the different organelles within the cell, and the well-defined nucleus inside it, okay? So there are some other images, and some have labels, others don't have labels. But you see the eukaryotic cells, they all have a well-defined nucleus. Opposed to that, with the prokaryotic cells, where there is no defined nucleus, okay? So here we have something there defined. I don't know what that one is, okay? In this image, it would be interesting to see what is the nomenclature of the different parts. Here we have one where we really don't see a nucleus at all. Okay, so but this is also another way in which you can complete your assignment. Okay, So how are the different ways on classifying a living organism? So Camila says, how do you want us to submit lesson 2? Okay. I kind of explained that you submit the lessons using Canvas. So you go here to Canvas, you go to the home page for the course. This is Intro to Cytology. And then you click there on lesson 2, and then you will have there a button somewhere. I don't see it because this is on the teacher's view of things. You have a button there for submitting your assignment. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Good deal. So, Emma, let's see. Let me see if I. Oh. I cannot unmute you, Emma. So ask me the question in the question block. Okay. To ask a question. Okay. All right. So how do we classify living organisms? During the lesson, we talk about a different classification. Okay. All right. Anyone? What are some of the ways that we can classify living organisms? Haley says by the number of cells. Excellent. So what would be the classification if we are talking about the number of cells? We can certainly do it by the kind of cells.
If there's single cells or many cells or the diamond nucleus, the type of nucleus.
Yes, and Hannah also says by the way of energy production. Okay, would you like to expand on that? How that works? Also by the type of reproduction. That's right, Emmeline. Okay. You can also classify living organisms by the way that they reproduce. Good. Very, very good. Okay. Whether they have a nucleus or not. So in the lesson, we have kind of 3 of the ways of classifying living organisms. But I tell you, there are a ton of different ways, different classification schemes. Okay. So by the number of cells, an organism can be unicellular or multicellular. All right, that is pretty easy. If it has a well-defined nucleus, then it's eukaryote. If it doesn't have a well-defined nucleus, it's a prokaryote. And then we say the way of energy production. Okay, and according to this classification, we can classify them as autotroph or heterotroph. Okay, I didn't ever hear that before. All right, those words. But what do the words mean? What does troph mean? That is the same thing in both words. What do you think that means? The ending troph. Good.
Are we autotroph or heterotroph? Autotroph.
Yeah.
We just produce all the energy on our own? With nothing else? No, yeah, other.
Sorry, what was that? So, auto, again in Greek, it would be aftos, okay, means the third person of the singular, okay, is the pronoun, okay, for the third person of the singular. So it would be he, she, or it, okay. That is αυτό, okay. That is also the word for self, all right. So αυτό, okay, or auto, that also can be used in automobile or, you know, any of the other words that start with auto, automatic, okay? That means self, all right? Something that does it by itself, okay? Hetero means with others or from others, okay? And so, like autobiography, yes, excellent, Anna, okay? So it produces, so someone mentioned that autotroph produces energy from the sun. There are also most plants use sunlight to produce energy, and we are going to study that, I think, in lesson 11, 12, something like that, the processes of photosynthesis. But you know that there are other organisms that also are autotrophs, that generate their own energy, but not from the sun. They use other chemical reactions in order to generate their energy, okay? Troph means to eat or to feed, all right? And that also comes from the Greek. It's a Greek word, okay? And so self-feeding are the organisms that are able to produce their own food. Heterotrophs are the organisms that need to be fed from other organisms, okay? And so they have to eat, all right? And so we are one of the type of heterotrophs, all right? So humans are classified as multicellular eukaryotic heterotrophs. Okay. Now, what are some of the characteristics here between prokaryotes and eukaryotes? I want you to tell me what are some of the things that you have learned by studying here at this table. Raise your hand and open your mic to answer. What are some of the characteristics?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So the prokaryote, it has like a tail in the back, and I don't think it has any mitochondria or nucleus.
Correct.
And then the eukaryote has a nucleus and mitochondria and is round without a tail in the back or like any of those like spiky things pointing out. And the eukaryote has like a membrane, and the prokaryote's like I don't know, it has a different membrane than the eukaryote.
So let's see, let's go a little bit at a time, okay? James, thank you for your participation. Now, here in this picture, we see that the prokaryote has the cilia, that are the little hair, and this tail is called the flagellum. That is the word for whip, okay, in Latin. Okay, cilia is the word of hair, also in Latin. So what do you think that the prokaryotes use the cilia and the flagellum for? What do you think that they use it for?
To move.
Emmeline says moving. Maria says to feed. What do you think? What do you think that they use the flagellum or the cilia for?
The flagellum is for moving, I think, but I'm not sure about the other ones.
The cilia? Yeah. So in fact, both the flagellum and the cilia are mostly for locomotion, is to get around. It's also to feel their environment, okay? And so actually, there are some eukaryotes that also have cilia and flagellum. Okay. One question here that Haley asked, Jens, is basically the question is a single cell or multi-cell? How are they? Prokaryotes, are they single cell, unicellular, or multicellular? What do you think? Keep going, James. Open up the mic. Don't be shy. You're doing great.
All right, fine. Wait, the eukaryotes are multicellular. But I'm not sure about the prokaryotes. I think they can be singular, but I think most of them, I think of them as bacteria, so multicellular also, I think so.
So most of them are actually unicellular. Okay, bacteria is also unicellular. If they are together, they live kind of in colonies because they reproduce and everything, but they can live independent of each other. They don't need each other. Okay. Instead, the eukaryotes, there are a few eukaryotes that are unicellular, like some protozoa, but most of them are multicellular, the prokaryotes. The eukaryotes are multicellular, okay? So prokaryotes usually single cells, eukaryotes are sometimes single cells, colonies, multicellular organisms, okay? How about the size, Jen? How about the size?
About the size?
Mm-hmm.
The eukaryote is bigger than the prokaryote. And yeah. The prokaryote is wow, it's really small. It's 1 to 50 micrometers, and the eukaryote is 2 to 200 micrometers.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the prokaryote is bigger than the eukaryote.
The prokaryotes are smaller. Okay. Okay. So these ones are way smaller. Okay. Yeah. So the eukaryotes are much larger. They are sometimes 200 times larger than the prokaryotes. Okay. Imagine that they are so large that people think, there are some scientists that think that some of the organelles within the eukaryote cells, like the mitochondria, is actually a prokaryote cell that was eaten or engulfed within the eukaryote cell. Okay, so if you were to compare the size of these, let me put the file here. Okay, this is a eukaryote cell of a plant, and this mitochondria, a little one, that would be the size of a prokaryote cell. Okay, so very, very small. Does that make sense?
I have a question. So a virus what would that be considered as? Would that be considered as a prokaryote or as a eukaryote?
Excellent question, James. Actually, I'm very glad that you asked the question. So the question is, what are viruses? Interestingly enough, we are going to learn about viruses, but viruses are neither, okay? That is something really interesting. Viruses are actually encapsulated strands of DNA, okay? And so they are not really a living thing until they enter into a host cell. Okay, so if you look here at the table where it says prokaryotes, bacteria, and archaea, and then eukaryotes, protists, fungi, plants, animals, viruses are in neither of these lists. And I was reading about it and found out that viruses, there is actually a debate in the scientific community about whether to consider viruses as living or not. Because a virus is just a strand of DNA that injects itself inside a cell and changes the DNA of that cell. And that is what makes then the viral infection sick. The virus cannot reproduce itself. It can only reproduce once it has invaded another living cell and taken over the DNA process of that cell. Okay? Isn't that curious?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I heard about like they can disguise themselves into like getting into the cell, and then the cell like accepts it and thinks it's something else, but then when it gets in, it just like starts to explode. Like the virus just starts to multiply so fast.
Yeah, so what happens is the virus injects the strand of DNA within the nucleus of the cell, and then it starts using the reproductive mechanisms of that cell in order to multiply itself. But now it's not reproducing the normal cell, it's reproducing the cell that is infected by the virus. Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
Really crazy. Haley asked, can eukaryotes be smaller than prokaryotes? Yes, there are some eukaryote cells that are smaller than prokaryotes, but in general, most prokaryotes are really small compared to eukaryotes. So that is why you have to have an antibiotic to kill bacteria, but not viruses. That is right. Can you see that the way to kill a bacteria, you have the actual the antibiotic? What it does is actually a way to break the cell wall and the cell membrane of the bacteria, and then it kills the bacteria. So the antibiotic is actually a fungi, is actually a yeast that eats bacteria, okay? But they don't work on viruses because the viruses are not living. They are completely different, okay? And so they don't feed on that. Caleb asked a question, is cancer like a virus? Yes, go ahead, Jen. Or Liberty?
I was just wondering, so how would you kill a virus? Do you just try to let the body take care of it and try to let the body just pretty much overtake the virus with all of the cells, or is there something like that you can do to help the viruses go away faster than just normal?
That is an excellent question. Okay, that is an excellent question. What I understand is that the only way really for the virus to be killed is basically for the immune system of the organism, of the invaded organism, to start reacting to the virus and to the cells that are invaded by the virus, until it learns the immune system learns how to kill that virus. Okay, so remember that I said that the virus is a specific strand of DNA. Okay,
so everyone is different.
Yeah, so every different type of virus is different, but the immune system once the cell is invaded by the virus, the immune system starts recognizing this cell is not part of the organism because it's different, okay? So I need to learn how to kill it. And so the immune system starts developing the response in order to kill that invaded cell. So the best way that you can do to kill a virus is to help boost your immune system so it can learn to heal itself, okay? There are some viruses like the Ebola virus or the HIV virus that are so bad that they don't give time for the body to learn to fix it, and it actually kills the organism, okay? It invades the organism so rapidly that it kills it, okay?
Can I put something in?
Yes, go ahead.
I once learned that some scientists were studying with viruses, and they could take a glowing protein out of a jellyfish and put it in a baby mouse.
Sorry, what was that? They took what?
A protein in jellyfish that make them glow.
Ah,
And
very,
then
very interesting.
special like the baby mouse would glow.
Wow. That is something. So yeah, there are lots of interesting things that can happen. Okay. All right. So one way, someone, Olson and Aubrey talk about here vaccines. We are going to talk about vaccines later on. All right. But vaccines are ways of basically helping the immune system learn to recognize the virus before the virus really attacks, okay, the organism, okay? So that is an interesting thing. I have a question. Someone asked, is cancer a virus? Is cancer a virus?
I want to say yes, because people are having like a really hard time getting rid of like cancer and stuff.
That's right. It's very hard to get rid of cancer. The problem really with cancer is it's not a virus because it's not that something external to the organism attacks the organism. Cancer is actually when some cells in the body change and start reproducing themselves out of control, okay? So we are going to have in a couple of lessons, we are going to talk about cell reproduction and how that happens. And at that time, we are going to see, study a little bit about cancer and how cancer develops. The difficulty here for cancer is that the immune system cannot recognize the cancer cells as being the enemy because they are part of the body. And so the immune system does not do anything really in this case. Does that make sense? So it's really kind of sad. Okay. All right.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So Maria says, are we going to start ending the lesson? Yes. Let's start ending the lesson. All right. A good way of putting it. So, sorry, there are so many things to talk about and to study that I sometimes get carried away. All right. So, next lesson is lesson 3. So I want you to remember, read the lesson beforehand, come prepared to ask questions about the lesson, and then if you want to be a panelist, okay, come early, like 10 minutes early, raise your hand, and I'll make you a panelist, and then you'll be able to also participate, okay, that way, okay? Is that all right? Okay. So today we didn't have much time to discuss the gospel principle of this lesson, but it is actually a very interesting principle, is that each one is an important part of several different groups. And in the lesson, I ask you to study 1 Corinthians chapter 12. So I have it there, 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And in here, this is the first time that Paul, the Apostle Paul, when he's writing this letter, he actually uses the word member, okay, as referring to the members of the body, the different organs of the body, all right? And so it says, for the body is one and has many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body. So also is Christ. And then he makes here the analogy between the body and the members of the body with the church of Christ. Okay? And so the principle here is that we, and that is, this chapter is the foundational, the doctrinal reason why we call ourselves members of the church. Okay? Does that make sense? So I want you to read this chapter and think about what it means to be a member of the cell. Okay? Or a member of the church. Sorry, a member of the church. All right? Okay. Excellent. Good deal. So, and all the members are different, similar to how all the different cells in the body are different. Even the organelles within the cells are different, but they are all part of the same body. And the same thing happens here with the members of the church. Okay? The Apostle Paul finishes the letter saying, and God has set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, and gifts of healing, helps, government, diversities of tongues. So there are many different things in the church, you know, people with different gifts, people with different callings, and so on. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gift of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Or do all interpret? What is the answer to all these questions? These are what is called kind of rhetorical questions. What would be the answer to these questions? That's right. Emmeline says no. Not everyone is a prophet and so on. So we have all different ways of being, different callings. Okay? All right? All right? So we all have differences. That is the main message here, but we all need to take care of each other. Then he says, but covet earnestly the best gift, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. What do you think that? So Paul finishes this chapter by saying, you know, we are all different. We all have different callings, different things. We are different parts that make a whole, okay, like Caleb says. All right, we all have different gifts, and we need to seek these gifts. But then he says, I'm going to show you a more excellent way. What is the more excellent way that Paul wants to show us? I'm going to leave that question for you to think, okay, and to ponder. So I want you to study this chapter, read it, ponder it, and the key, one clue here for this this last question. Okay. Emmeline says, desire to cultivate multiple gifts, but I'll show you my way with it, make you an instrument in my hand. Okay, good. That is a good interpretation. The more excellent way that Paul is talking about, the clue that I'm going to leave you with is in the next chapter. Okay, it's in the next chapter. All right. All right, so thank you very much. And I would like to invite someone to offer a closing prayer. Who would like to offer a closing prayer for us today?
I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this wonderful day we have to discuss science, and we're thankful that we for thy Spirit, and please for us that we can take what Mr. Reboldi taught us in the life. We're thankful that he's our teacher. Please help us to be kind of loving and be mindful of missionary opportunities. Please put those not with us so they can be with us in our future classes. We know all things come from thee. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you very, very much. And I'm very happy to have you in class. Thank you for your participation. Okay. So, Haley, we are going to try to get to the bottom of this issue with your participation. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to